Hi, this is Paul Chabot, Drug Free McKinney and Coalition Drug Free Texas. Here joined today with a local parent, Mike Land. Mike Land has a very sad story to share about his son that died from a fentanyl overdose a little over 2 years ago. And I asked Mike if he would please share his story and what he's doing to bring awareness to his issue and in remembrance of his son, Preston, right, Mike?
Correct.
Mike, thanks for being with us. And I appreciate you reaching out to me. Social media has been helpful in many ways, at least from a parent perspective, in getting this out. And, you reached out after seeing a post that we had put out there, I think on Nextdoor. And then that's how we got connected. And, the sad thing is you're not the first parent. You're actually the third parent that has reached out, that has lost someone from an overdose here locally. And I just think about this, and that is, that's just a small number of people that have seen this.
Right.
How big is this problem? And where are we going from here as a society, and what can we do? And I'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
But thanks for joining us, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. It was January 5th of 2021 that I got the call. I was actually in Arizona, and my ex-wife called and said that Preston was gone. And of course, I thought, gone where? Like he left. And she said, no, gone, he's dead. And she is a nurse. And basically he basically took a pill, a Percocet, and sat down in his chair, was about to start playing some video games. And his mom came the next morning, found him still sitting in the chair, and was passed away at the time. Of course, they ran the autopsy, and it took 12 weeks to get a toxicology report back. And it was 100% fentanyl. There was no Percocet in his system. Now, Preston he was 25 years old when he passed away. And, he was like any other high school student. He tried stuff in high school. He went to McKinney Boyd High School. Never really got into what they call the dangerous drugs. He did partake in marijuana every once in a while, and had the THC vape pen cartridges that I know he messed with, but wasn't suicidal, wasn't anything. That was my first thought, is suicide. Did he take something? But I talked to all of his friends, and he was in a great mood that night. Just went to Whataburger with his little sister, and just got a hold of a bad pill. And I'll be honest, the first year after he passed away, I just spent a year in anger, at the border issue, with everything. I contacted politicians, anything I could do. Then I got a call from Sheriff Skinner in McKinney, Collin County, and Preston's cousin worked at the county jail. She had been in administration for 30 years. And Sheriff Skinner had said, hey, Tanya, didn't you have a family member that died? And so basically they got in touch. I went and met with the sheriff and some of his guys, and he kind of went over the numbers in October of 2021, just telling me it was about a 400% increase in the fentanyl overdose, and 70% of those were one-time users. And then I think now, the last time I had heard, well, in fact, I just got the numbers from the medical examiner. We're at a 685% increase in overdose fentanyl deaths in the past 2 to 3 years. And it's a number of 58. And some people might say, well, that's not a lot of people. Well, one is too many. That's right. In my books. And so basically I just decided, October 27th, his birthday last year, I just put on Facebook, I said, you know what, to bring awareness, I'm going to go out to 25 national parks. And the reason I picked national parks is just to get away from what I call the concrete jungle, just get out there. And then I decided I'm going to ride 7 miles on my bike inside the park. 7 is the number of completion in the Bible. And as I did that, I also started to decide to climb to the tallest peak and do a memorial service. And it was part of my grieving process as well. And I've worked with my church with grief groups and things of that nature. And I thought if I could share my story and my grief as well, that would help other parents or people that have lost loved ones. It's going great. I've done 7 parks. I'm leaving in 2 days to do 6 more. And it's getting a lot of attention. I basically now read the names of lost loved ones before each ride that I can. I've probably got 20 or 30 names that I've already read, and from all over the United States. So I'm getting a lot of traction out there. And we're just trying to bring awareness to this issue, and I do get a lot of people that have said, which is sad, well, he's a drug addict. He gets what he deserved. And to be honest, he wasn't what most people think is a drug addict. And then I come back and I say, well, do the drug addicts deserve to be poisoned as well? Nobody wakes up every morning and says, what do you want to be, Johnny, when you grow up? Well, I was going to be a lawyer, but I'm going to try this drug addict thing for a while. It doesn't happen that way. So, and it is, most of these people that are dying are one-time users. They just got a hold of a bad pill. I know that I've spoken with guys. In fact, the guy that works on my bicycle, I won't use his name, but he lived up in Northern California and he was actually a pot farmer. Yeah. And he actually decided to get out of it because the cartel came in there, took over their business there. And he knows that they're spraying marijuana now because marijuana, yeah. I'm not I tried it back in high school, but I don't think it's as addictive as most drugs, but I think that's why they're trying to make it addictive. So I'm just out there trying to do whatever I can. I moved to McKinney in 1995 when there was 30,000 people. And I thought I'm going to get away from Dallas, get away from all the bad stuff. Yeah. And bam, here we are. And, so, I met with Serenity High School. I'm not sure if you're aware of those guys.
I am. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was invited to join their board Monday night. So I'm going to start doing whatever I can with those guys. And
that is awesome. And just so the folks watching, Serenity High, it's a high school here in McKinney, Texas. Serenity, obviously, we all know what that means, but it's a small group of select students that have had some substance abuse incidents during their academic time so far, and they're pulled into a closer knit academic community, hence the name Serenity High. So great purpose, and what a blessing to have you on the board there, Mike. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've ran into an old friend, Jason, that's on the board there, Jason Hernandez, who I've known for a number of years. So yeah, I'm just trying to get out there and do the best I can just to make, and I did an interview, a friend of mine from high school, he does videos for a living, and he did the interview, and the camera guy said, what would be your success story at the end of this? And I said, honestly, if one kid came home and said, Mom, Dad, that guy Preston, that video you showed me or whatever, somebody was passing around a pill at a party and I decided not to take it, that would be a success story. And I'll be honest, I've had hundreds of people now tell me that they've talked to their kids. And does it mean we're going to stop everybody? You and I were both teenagers, peer pressure, and it's something tough out there. But if we can make a difference, and if I can get one person, then maybe that one person can share it to another person, and hopefully just stop this. I hate the numbers out there. I say anywhere from 200 to 300 a day are dying from this, and that's a plane crash every day. And for some reason, we're not doing something about it. I mean, if a plane crashed every day, we would be, something. So, yeah, I'm just doing whatever I can to get out there and talk to people. I talk to the police departments when I'm out and about driving around in places, make sure they have Narcan in their cars. I know even the city of McKinney right now, I'm hoping they get Narcan in their police cars, but currently they don't carry Narcan.
Really? Okay. I did not know that. Okay. I will ask, and thank you for that. So, by the way, I don't know if you know, but just last night, city or McKinney Independent School District sent out a e-blast to all parents. And that e-blast was on fentanyl and how one pill can kill. And they shared a DEA announcement. Look, that I think is really important because it's telling the parents, you got to talk to your kids about this.
Right.
And if we could replicate that across this country, but it's personal stories, Mike, and what you have been through and what you're doing now. Also, what's the website that you could share so others can follow your journey and
right
message?
Yeah, it's 25preston7.com, the number 25preston7.com. And so, yeah, I actually got that letter. I think it was the SRO that got that letter and sent it out. I think Mark over at Serenity sent me that letter as well.
Good.
Multiple times. And yeah, it's just, even at my church on Wednesday nights, we work with recovery patients or with people in recovery at our church. Yeah. And, we've got security there, that are what do you call it? They're not in uniform, but police officers and state troopers, and they've got it. And, when I went and talked to the McKinney Police Department, it was maybe it was in January, and I went up there and I said, why don't you have Narcan in the cars? And they said, well, the first responders or the, fire department, they carry it. And I said, well, usually the police officers are there before they are. And I said, we've all seen the stories of the officers touching something, falling over. You know, my next door neighbor is the chief deputy at Plano Police, and they've got a strict policy that if you think anything, you get gloved up, you put your mask on, you do everything before you touch it. And, you know, I hope that they're going to get it. I know that there's a new chief maybe that's coming in or did come in, and I'm hoping that we can get it, you know, Narcan in the cars.
Yeah, look, we'll follow up with that.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that on our website at drugfreemckinney.org, we have some resource links. And anybody in Texas, anybody can get Narcan. And so we also have a video on drugfreemckinney.org about how to use Narcan. I don't have a sample here with me, but we have another batch of, I think, 48 that arrived today, and we'll be passing those out.
Okay.
Look, depending when you're watching this video, it could be after the fact, but our next quarterly networking meeting in McKinney is going to be the 24th of this month, of February at noon. And anybody can go to our website, RSVP. We're going to hand out that Narcan as a first come, first serve. Look, It's not an illegal or legitimate product to have. There's no harm to you from having it. It's a very simple product on how to use it. And look, Mike, I agree. I think we're at a point in society now where not just, police should have it. Everybody in your school, a public school, every school. In fact, it should almost be as common as CPR, right? You should know CPR, first aid, and how to use Narcan and where to get it. That's a sad state of affairs that's where we are in this country.
Right.
Over 100,000 deaths. If you look at the McKinney ISD Stadium, the number of people that die in this country every year could fill that stadium 9 times over.
Yeah.
And, you said something really important and we don't want to shame the addicts. Look, I'll be 49 next month. I went through drug rehab when I was 12. I've been working with addicts for over 3 decades. This is a disease. And like you said, Mike, nobody wakes up one day and says, hey, I want to be a heroin addict or I want to overdose tomorrow. It's not like that. But where we fail, we're failing in this country. We're failing in the state. We're failing in our community. We got to be honest about it.
Right.
We are. And, so the stories of parents like Mike here, what we hope that really does here is gets into your household with your kids. I got 4 kids. My house is not immune. I completely understand, Mike, that any one of them could be susceptible, even if taking candy now, which is what we got to warn people about, right? Or vaping, what they think they could be vaping tobacco could have something else in it. And we know kids are vaping in our school bathrooms. I mean, my God, it's everywhere. And so the message from the DEA is, look, one pill can kill. Like, don't even try this stuff or whatever it is. The other resource that we've worked on here in McKinney, it's with a company called Any Lab Now. They do drug testing. And in the schools, they do drug testing occasionally for athletes, extracurricular. And so what we thought we would do is amplify this. And on our website, you can click on drug testing and any parent can take their kid in. It's a reduced rate, just mentioned Drug Free McKinney. And look, the point is you're not probably going to catch, fentanyl in their system, because if you do, they could likely be dead at that point.
Right.
But the point is, I think, Mike, what we're really trying to drive at is that we need to give kids an out, because peer pressure is so strong. And if the kids can say, hey, look, I can't touch that because my parent drug tests me, I don't want to get busted, that could potentially, hopefully, be enough. It's not a silver bullet. But the other big part of this, Mike, is just what we're doing. It's that going into every household's living room through this video, not just in McKinney, but across the country, saying, you got to have a talk with your kids. And if you don't know what fentanyl is, you got to go research it. If you don't know what Narcan is, that could help potentially save a life from an overdose, you need to go look what that is. On our website, drugfreemckinney.org, you can order it for free. I think it comes out of Houston, and they'll mail you a 2-pack. And as a nonprofit, we're getting a 48-pack here that we're going to distribute. But that's just a drop in the bucket. And so,
and you probably know this better than me, but because I'm in the oncology industry, so I've been on the diagnostic side and also on the pharmaceutical side. From what I understand, even if you give somebody a Narcan or spray, after that point, we want to make sure that you call the police, call the ambulance or something, because from what I understand, I know fentanyl will stay in your system a lot longer than the Narcan will. And I've seen people where they've given them 4 or 5 doses, even on police officers. So they got to get them to the hospital and get them hooked up to an IV on this as well. So it's just, that's what I tell people is, even though you hit them with a Narcan, get them to the hospital or something. So
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like the first call is always 911. It's like CPR, right? It's like, hey, somebody call, get help. And then when you use that first dose of Narcan, and how you use it, you put the little device in the person's nose, and you push it in. It doesn't impact you, and you got to wait 2 to 3 minutes. If there's no effect, then you can use another one and another one and another one. I've talked to some officers that have used 4 or 5
right.
multiple doses. And look, it doesn't always work either.
Yeah.
And so, but it's the best I think that we have at this point, and time is of the essence.
Yeah.
Mike, tell us a little bit more about Preston, and if you wouldn't mind, just his story as a kid. I know you shared a little bit, just an ordinary kid having fun.
Yeah, he was, I mean, he was just a normal, he was a big movie freak. I mean, he loved movies. That was our deal. Every Sunday morning, we would go to the first movie Sunday morning, sit at the very, very back and watch a movie. I mean, he could tell you the producer's name, just anything. He just loved movies. When he was a little kid, he loved, I think Power Rangers were big when he was little, and he loved playing with those. Just a great, funny kid. And then he was excited. He had a little brother, and his little brother passed away too. So I lost both of my sons. He died in 2005, and it was a medical condition. So, I think he got a little down there because he thought, hey, I'm going to have another brother, because on his mom's side, his mother and I were divorced. She's got 3 daughters. So he's like, yeah, I need some guys around here. All these little girls run around. So, but he was just a great kid. And, he went off to Texas Tech, and did some classes there, and then came back. But I mean, he isolated sometimes, but he was always wanting to get in good shape. And that's when I got the call, that he had passed away. I thought, man, we were just talking, we were in this contest to see if he get in the best shape and all this kind of stuff. And his best friend, they were working out, they were supposed to go work out the next day. So it was just a shock. My first thought was suicide, but of course we didn't know. But he was just a great kid. I went to McKinney Boyd. Just loved to have fun. He loved movies, and just hanging out with his buddies and whatever he could do. And so, it was sad because I remember just in October, before he passed away, my uncle had passed away. And I said, Preston, I said, look, I did your little brother's funeral. I did your grandfather's funeral, my father, and now your great uncle's funeral. I said, the next funeral, you're doing mine. I didn't realize in 2.5 months that he'd be doing, that I'd be doing his. I mean, nobody's supposed to lose a child. And I thought, well, I've lost both of my children. So that was just, so I just, I decided to take that suffering and use it to help other people. And I know that, I'm finishing this journey. We're videoing a lot of it. We're going to put something together at the end of it. I want to put a book together, to dedicate it to his niece that was on his sister, my second stepdaughter. She just had a child, and I got to tell this story. It's the coolest thing. She said that she wanted to get pregnant and have a boy, and she wanted it born on his birthday. So she did get pregnant, and her due date was like November 3rd. And she went to the doctor and said, is there any way that we can induce on October 27th, Preston's birthday? And he said, yeah, as long as there's no medical problems. She gave birth to a daughter on October 27th, his birthday. She named him Ellie Preston. Oh. And it turns out it was the same doctor that delivered Preston from McKinney 27 years ago. So it's just a cool story. So, I just want to get out there and just try and help, one person from not doing this. And, it's not just, when I think about, you're at a party and stuff, I think of these West Point cadets that went down to Florida. I don't know if you heard about them last year, that the 4 of them tried cocaine and the other 2 tried to help them just by touching them. They died as well. So it's, that's the scary thing, is not only to talk to the kids, don't take it, but if you're around it, you don't even want to be around it. I mean, it's scary. It's very scary.
How have you heard that this stuff is getting into our communities?
Well, I know it's coming through the border, and I know that a lot of it is, what they see on the news is, oh, we caught, 4 pounds of something. Well, I've talked with the DEA, I've talked with Sheriff Skinner, and I've talked with a lot of other people, even when I'm down on the border going, back and forth to Arizona sometimes. That's 10% of what's coming in. And the cartel knows that they're going to lose some of the shipments. So whatever we're getting, whatever that is, another 90% is getting through. What else is happening is now that the cartel is setting up shops in all the major cities.
Yeah.
And they're setting up little, I don't want to call them clinics, but they're pressing out 100,000 pills a week is what their job is. You know, they're coming in, taking over the regular drug trade in the United States, where we just had drug dealers here. They're coming in and taking that over now. And, you know, people ask me, why do they want to kill their customers? You know,
I was going to ask you that as well. That's probably one of the biggest questions. Like, they want to make money, but why are they, do they really want to kill? How do you respond to that?
I respond by the fact that you might get a bottle, say you go and buy a bottle of 30 Percocet off the street, you know, and you can even test for some of them. And if you just test the first couple ones with the test strips, they might not show fentanyl. The rest might be. Yeah, they don't want to kill their customers. It's bad for business.
Yeah.
However, when it kind of first started, it would be like you and me. We're not chemists, but we don't want to get into the drug business. We get a pound of fentanyl. We're going to start pressing pills ourselves. I'm not a chemist. You're not a chemist. We don't know how much to put in there. So it's a lot of, you know, mishandling, not knowing what they're doing. I also know that a lot of people that have taken fentanyl, that are hooked on fentanyl, their body gets immune to it, from what I understand. And the first time users is where it really hits. And, you know, I've talked to a friend of mine that does prison ministry in Arizona, and there's women in there in the jails in the prison that they're smoking 4 or 5 fentanyl pills a day. And the reason they smoke it is because they found it's less lethal, is what they're thinking that it is. So, you know, you got too many people passing around stuff and not knowing what they're doing. And it's just your body, if you're immune to it. And that's why the biggest thing is these one-time users, you know, it's going to affect them different. So
what would you say to the parent or parents that are like, hey, not my kids, right? I watch them. We go to church on Sundays. We eat dinner together. Never in a million years is this going to happen to my kids. What would you say to those parents?
Well, the first question I'd ask is, do they have any friends? Do they go to school? Are they on social media? Do they watch TV? They're going to be influenced by something. And second, has your child ever hid one thing from you? And I would ask that parent as well, when you were in high school, did you ever get peer pressure? Did you ever say, yeah, hey, I'm having a bad day, take this, you know, take a shot of this? You know, they know it, but they just think of this as an issue for people, that what you see on the street is somebody with a needle in their arm. They think my child's not that child. And then I just let them know that, you know what, mine wasn't either. And 70% of these people are one-time users. We've all been to high school, and we've all been to a high school party or something. Somebody's going to pressure you into something, you know, and I would love it if social media wasn't around, to be honest.
I agree. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah,
like they couldn't spread all this stuff. At the same time, we couldn't spread this message, but this message might not need to be spread if we didn't have just this craziness in our times. You know, you mentioned something about your kids' friends, and that's so true. Research shows that 1 out of 5 kids right now, 20%, are using something. And so if your son or daughter's got 4 other friends, statistically within that group of 5, somebody can impact the rest in a negative way. And so, yeah, that peer pressure is huge. That's why we try to bring in and promote this drug testing program, non-punitive. Nobody gets in trouble. It's just one more way to get your kids to at least feel like they can tell their buddies, you know, hey, I might like to do that, but man, my mom or dad drug test me and I don't want to get busted down.
Yeah. So. The other thing I would tell a parent is the situation that I'm kind of in when they think, oh, he lost a son. Okay, so that affects the son that passed away and then the parents. Also, it affects down the generation. I will never have grandkids, you know, biologically, unless I decide to get married again. And at my age, I'm probably not going to. But I would say that each person that passes away can affect 10 to close to 100 people down the road, because that could have produced family. It could have produced children. You know, that daughter that's in high school, every daughter dreams of getting married, meeting Prince Charming, having 2.5 kids. That's over. And that's what I would tell the parents. I mean, the parents now is, do you want to have grandchildren to spoil? Is it just talk to the kids? That's all it takes. Spend a little time. I know in society now, two parents, they're career focused. They get home, all they want to do is get dinner ready, get the kids to bed, whatever. Just take 5 or 10 minutes and just drill it in them, and I would, I've got a picture of my son in a coffin. I would love to just put that out there saying, here you go. Is this what you want to look at the end of the day? Or do you want to take that 5 minutes to talk to them? Yeah, they're not drug addicts. Talk to them. But I know that it's doing some good out there. Some people are contacting me, and that Nextdoor app, I'd never knew about it. And a friend of mine told me, try it. And I put it on there. And I think within 48 hours, I had 400 comments or something at one time. And just people telling me, I lost a child. I know somebody in Alabama that lost a child. And it's not racial. It's not, your income level. It's everybody out there. So, and I'm also trying to push fathers that have lost children. What I've noticed is when you see these nonprofits and foundations, it's always the mother that is doing something, and the dad stands behind, because we're not supposed to show emotions. We're strong and we'll be there for the rest of the family. So I'm trying to get fathers out there to push this as well as, and I've got a guy in Vermont that he's doing this as well. He's doing a marathon for his son that passed away. So so just anything we can do. So.
Well, I think, to take comfort in the fact that, and you might not see all the fruits of your hard work and your sacrifice and what you went through, but having been in this realm for quite some time, your story and the tragedy of what you went through has already saved other lives, many lives that you will never know about. Just because somebody's going to see this, somebody's going to talk to their kids. Those parents are going to be at coffee with another parent saying, hey, I saw this video. Have you talked to your kid? And so if there's any comfort to take out of this loss, it's doing exactly what it is that you're doing. Because really, I mean, this is good and evil. And evil is destroying kids, literally. And do you feel like the problem is getting better or worse right now at this time in our country?
I think it's getting worse. I really do. I think it's worse. And, just to back up a little bit, I was thinking about the parents that don't think their kids are drug addicts. And I myself, back in the 80s and 90s, had a cocaine addiction. And when I talked to the sheriff and the DEA was there, I said, look, back then when we did it, the only way you would die is if you did too much. I said, now look at me. I said, I work in the pharmaceutical industry and the diagnostic. I was affiliated with Yale School of Medicine. I mean, I was a drug addict, if you want to look at it that way, so it doesn't matter. I mean, so I think it's getting worse. And I think the longer the border stays open, and I try not to get political too much on there, because I know that if you get political, somebody can shut you down off of social media, but
we've all experienced that. No, but you're right. I mean, look, the border is one part of this: education, prevention, treatment, enforcement. When you've got that stuff flowing across the border, and what we know now from intel is that, look, the cartels will flood a bunch of humans across as a distraction to be able to get the drugs, the fentanyl. Something else you said is really important. And that is that, yes, cartels are not just in Mexico anymore. They live amongst us. They moved into a number of these states, from Colorado to California, where they got the pot farms. They are absolutely in our communities. Here in Collin County, you've had a bust on the 75. Next door in Carrollton, you had 3 kids die of fentanyl since December. And I think 7 overdoses that ended up surviving. But how's that stuff getting here, right? And it's not rocket science. And so as a society, we know we can't put our heads in the sand. We got to admit we got a problem, and that's hard enough. The other recommendation is for every single school out there, participate in the Texas School Survey. It's a confidential survey. They ask kids, what are you seeing on your campus? And most school districts do not participate in the survey. It's run by the Texas A&M University. It's a state grant, costs 25 cents per kid, takes a few minutes to do the survey. That data is critical, because if you're a school board or school board member or superintendent anywhere in this state, how do you know if you're doing better or worse at drug prevention in your schools? We all test, right? Whether it's STAR or grading on math, you know how a student's doing well or not. Well, how about the drug issue, folks? Your schools can be ground zero for us for getting a good beat on where we are. And also, you want to feel good about the fact that, hey, our numbers are down year over year. Right now, many of you across this state, you have no idea because you don't participate in the Texas school survey. And I'll be honest, the reason you don't is because you don't want it to become public that your school's got a drug problem. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Your school's got a drug problem. There isn't a single school that doesn't have a drug problem. So let's get that out in front and behind us, because we can't fix a problem unless we acknowledge one exists. And we've got to get the data so we can get the resources out to these communities. And from a legislative perspective across this country and our state, oh my, I mean, a lot of issues here. The border is one amongst so many. And Mike, it's a blessing to have you on here with us. We might be getting cut off here on the time here, but would you again just give the website and any closing comments that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it's www.25preston7.com. And last statement I'll make is, it is in every school. When Preston was 15 years old and he went to McKinney Boyd, and I said, so what kind of drugs can you get at school? He goes, you get anything you want at school except one thing. I said, what's that? And he goes, cigarettes, because you have to be 18 to get, or 21 to get them, but you can get anything you want. And I literally moved from Dallas Independent School District, and the schools were getting bad then. I said, I'm not raising my child there, so I'm moving out to the country. And turns out it's everywhere. It doesn't matter. It's just McKinney, you got a little bit more money to spend now than, and so it's everywhere. And don't, for every parent, don't be in denial. We've all been in high school. We've all been peer pressured, and now it's worse. It really is. And with the isolation, and yeah, it's worse. So just
Mike, I know you're saving lives. This message will be seen. Parents will hear it. It's like that little ripple that turns into a tidal wave. And so we've just got to keep beating the drum. One pill can kill. Talk to your kids. Mike's message is huge. Please visit his website for additional resources, whatever we can do, drugfreemckinney.org. And I just, God bless you all as parents, educators, first responders, medical professionals, everybody, right? Everybody. Doesn't matter what those jobs are now, whether you are a cook, a mechanic, we are all on the front lines on this in society. We all have a role to play. So get out there and keep beating the drum about what we have. Mike, again, thanks for being here. Thank you for sharing the story about your son Preston and his tragic loss. But I guarantee you are saving lives, and that his loss is not going in vain. So God bless you all, and thank you everybody for joining.